Enjoy your meeting. Just a reminder, today's meeting is being recorded.
Hi, everybody. This is Angie Lehman of Living Well Now Leadership. I'm grateful to all of you for either listening to this as a recording or joining us live today. We try to do Wednesday Wisdom calls a couple times a month to give insights to you from our leadership. We'd love to hear from some of you in our Business Builders group about topics you want to hear coming up. So be on the lookout for a thread about that in the next couple months. We're pretty well scheduled from now until the end of 2015, but we want to start 2016 with some fresh topics and some fresh ideas. Wednesday Wisdom is just a time for us to not just only share some tips that would be helpful to you, but also showcase some amazing leaders from our midst. And we're grateful to have Amy Marble joining us today from Peoria, Arizona. Amy is a silver leader with Young Living and has invested and is coaching many others on her team and in our Crossline Living Well Now group to greater success. Amy, one thing we didn't talk about before we got started is it would be awesome for you to share out your business story to kind of get us started today to let us know about who you are. And that will lead into the first question then about your journey and where you are today. How's that sound?
That sounds great. Do you want me to just start in?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Well, looking at Young Living being presented to me, I was not interested necessarily of doing this as a business. Very full schedule. My husband and I really incorporate serving and do ministry full time. So the thought of doing a business, especially one where you had to do quote unquote parties, at least that was my perspective, was just so not appealing to me at all, and I didn't have the time for it. But the benefits of the product I was very much interested in, and it was quite a blessing in the fact that when you work for God, you don't necessarily work for the money. So I was very pleased to hear that you didn't have to do it as a business, but you still received financial benefit by referring people and sharing what you're using. And I can honestly say my motivation when I first used it, my first Facebook post about essential oils, really truly was not from a business perspective or not from a what can I get out of this. It was more along the lines of, oh my gosh, this is life-changing. I finally found something that healthfully supports my body in a way that people could very much relate to. And usually when I put something out like that, if people know who I am and they know, what was going on in my life at the time, what ended up happening was instantly I had Facebook messages and phone calls and texts and so on and so forth. And, so I referred a couple people. I told them what I did to get my account started, and they did the same thing. And at the end of the month, I got a really nice sized check. And I remember thinking, if I could do this by just sharing something that I love, I do that anyway about everything that I use, and I don't get paid for it. But if I'm going to financially be rewarded for something, I'm going to do naturally. And if these are the results without being necessarily intentional about it, I wonder what I could do if I was intentional about it. And so that kind of began my business journey, was, okay, I really do want to look at this as a business. And I did, not completely and in its entirety. I still was very adamant I'm not going to teach classes. I'm not going to, I'm not going to do certain things. This is going to fit in on my schedule and my time. And, and it did, and it fit well. And we were financially benefiting with that. But then some medical issues actually ended up happening, and I was on bed rest in October. Actually, when I hit executive, I didn't even know I hit executive. My upline, Katie, had to call me and say, congratulations, you hit executive. And I had said, I hit what? What's that? What did I have to do that? And then the thought of Silver and Six kind of came into play, and then that really got me, okay, I need to do this as a business. I need to treat this like a real business. I need to learn how to teach a class. So I did. I scheduled my first class. I'm going to have my first class. We had visitors. We went to the lake that morning. I was going to teach my class that night. And that morning, out on the lake, I blew out my knee. So I called my upline. I called Katie, and she is amazing, to save me, and told her, I have a class tonight. And she actually had like several people coming tonight. And I can't even walk. I can't, and I don't want to cancel. And she graciously offered to last minute she was going to do dinner with her mom and do some other fun things, but she decided that her and her mom were going to just go teach my class for me. So my first class actually didn't happen, but when I was on bed rest for that month or so, what it did was it really focused me in, and I started strategically looking at my calendar, started strategically looking, okay, what does it take to hit Silver? What do I really need to do? And I mapped out a game plan. And I started messaging and texting and doing phone calls and online Facebook events. And it really just started generating momentum. And then I got to the point where I could walk. And,
that's a good thing.
That's always a good thing. And you guys had that call out for the accountability where you meet Crossline and you guys picked 4 people. People had to send in applications, and you guys did 4 per person. I can't remember what we're calling it right now.
Coaching, our coaching.
Yeah, the Crossline coaching. And so I was meeting with Deb, and I was meeting with Tracy and Michelle and Julie. And it was more out of selfishness. I was asking, okay, you guys always do these events, but you're always doing them on Saturdays or at night. What about people during the day? Why can't you guys, Living Well Now, do classes that are available? Yeah. And so Deb was so gracious, and she's like, well, that's a great idea. Why don't you do it? And I don't think anybody knew that I had never taught a class yet. So it was kind of baptism by fire, really. And Tracy is amazing.
Can I interrupt for just a second? Because when you say you didn't teach a class yet, you hadn't had a huge group, but people had been enrolling. You'd been sponsoring and enrolling people just based on conversations that you'd had with them that month that you were laid up.
Mhm. Well, and previously, so I really built on 101s and through relationships. So my beginning stages to get me to executive really was through one-on-ones. I would meet up with people, just for coffee. I'd love to do coffee dates or lunch dates. And through ministry, you do that a lot anyway. Or, if somebody's not feeling well, and I would, talk to them and run over the house, and we talk about how they can support their healthy body systems. And and so that was the foundational part of, what I did to get to executive. And it still is a key component of what I do currently. So I haven't
lift that out. And I wanted to lift that out because that, you'll hear a lot of times in our group and our teachings about duplicating classes. But for people to hear that you were able to reach executive by those relationships and by inviting people to create accounts based on your relationship with them and the time you spent talking with them one-on-one, that's very valuable and great. And so then when you were faced with the coaching, not faced with it, when you had the opportunity to be a part of that Crossline coaching group, that then kind of gave the impetus to start offering classes, which led then to you teaching.
Yeah.
And that's significant about your journey. So thanks for lifting that out.
Yeah, definitely. I think
then I'll bring you back on track because you said then you were working with the 4 of them to offer daytime classes. The 3
Yeah.
of them.
And that was such a blessing because it really kind of positioned me to do something that I was a little reluctant to do anyway. But as a team, the burden was so much lighter. We divided it out. It was less intimidating. I wasn't the only person standing up in front of people. We were there together, and we were carrying each other. And something that I really learned through that my team really is starting to embrace as well, is, when you do events together, you're sharing the burden. You're sharing, not burden, but you're carrying the weight. You're sharing the work. But we all have events where, you try and put something together and maybe it's just a bad time of day or the wrong day or there's too many conflicts and not a lot of people are able to make it. But when you're doing an event with multiple people, even if you only had 1 or 2 people show up, if everybody that was doing it has 1 or 2 people, then you have, 8 to 10 to 12 people, and it just feels like it's more of an event. And so I really loved that part of it, to be able to share the work and to create that atmosphere and excitement for a class. And then the learning aspect, too. I've learned so much just listening to, other people teach or teaching alongside of them between Katie and the 4 that were in that group, Julie, Tracy, and Michelle. Just listening to them teach has taught me so much. And I hear them say the same things. They're all saying that we're learning a lot from each other. But that was really kind of how things started happening, and then it intensified. My husband ended up breaking his leg, and he couldn't work, and he was our only source of income. And if he doesn't work, he doesn't get paid. And, God definitely worked and blessed and carried us through that. But I really have to say that he utilized Young Living through that, too, because on that 3rd month of, him not working and not receiving a check, on that 3rd month, things would have been very different. But because of the business that was being generated and the work that I was doing and the relationships that I was making, I can honestly say Young Living helped kind of carry us through some of that financial burden as well. So it's just been a tremendous blessing. And now he's on his way. Our goal, our big why for why I'm doing Young Living is so that he can do ministry full time, and I can honestly say that he's to the point where he only has to work 3 days a week instead of 5. And Young Living is supplementing us enough to allow him to focus more on ministry instead of his other job.
Amy, that is so cool because we hear a lot of leaders' wives have to do with retiring their husbands or helping them not work so hard or be away from the family. And so how cool that you've had the opportunity to get a taste of that already, partway through your journey.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a tremendous blessing, and it's, I would have never dreamed in a million years that, God would have utilized something that I didn't even want. I was not interested in this at all, and just to see so many doors and so many possibilities, and even I get so excited when I think about what's yet to come. But just to see all the things that have happened, just tapping into and utilizing Young Living, and how many people I've been able to help and talk to and journey with too. It just really feels like a lot of doors have been unlocked, and Young Living has been a big key to that. So,
well, and speaking of that, you mentioned earlier that part of the ministry experience you've had is having those one-on-one coffee times, lunch times, places to meet people. How do you see Young Living and your faith journey kind of integrating in terms of that?
Oh, they are very much one and of the same. This fits so well with our core beliefs, and our journey with God. And it's really just an awesome opportunity to walk alongside, help, serve, sometimes mentor, sometimes be mentored through it, me being the mentee. But when I'm meeting with people or talking about the oils, it's really quite a unique situation because when you're talking with people, a lot of times those natural barriers, those natural walls that people put up and areas of conversation that they don't go. When you're talking sometimes to people in regards to their emotions or in regards to their personal, private health stories, if you will, and their desire to support themselves in a healthy way, it just naturally kind of takes down those walls. And it's such a blessing to see them get excited and have hope. And it's such a blessing on the other end, too, because whenever I share oils with people or I loan my diffuser or my oils, I'll pray with them as well. So it's really quite complementary to our faith. So I think
yeah, keep going.
Oh, I was going to say, I think one of the really exciting parts about it, too, is the way that the business structure fits in with what we believe as far as being, faith-centered. And I love the scripture in the Bible from Philippians 2, verse 3. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but to each of you to the interests of others. Sorry, I'm a little tongue-tied. But I really love the fact that building your business through Young Living isn't about necessarily building your business. It's about helping, serving, and equipping other people. And I love the fact that when I focus on my team, when I focus on, helping them to raise up to be the people that God's intended them to be, if I'm focusing on their needs, their goals, their desires, why they want to go, where they want to go, what's their business, when I'm focused on that, everything just kind of naturally falls into place. So I don't need to necessarily worry about, okay, my next step is goals. How do I need to get there? I mean, obviously there's a little bit of element you do need to kind of be aware of structure, but my focus doesn't necessarily have to be on me. My focus can genuinely and 100% be on some of my leaders up and coming, Leanne and Becky, and getting them up and meeting the goals where they want to go. And that feels so good to know that I'm helping them 100% because I want them to succeed and I want them to get to where their goals are. And it really has nothing to do with them getting me to where I want to be. It really is 100% focusing on them. And I love that our whole business is built on that.
Yeah. Well, and in that equipping, we talk a lot in our training classes about equipping our product users and also equipping our business builders. It does become a mentor-mentee sort of relationship, but also knowing where people's goals are and the efforts and actions that they're able to put in. One of the things I really appreciate about you, Amy, is your consistency. We've had a consistency challenge going in Living Well Now since the beginning of September, and I think some people got discouraged when they couldn't do a daily invite or a daily kind of connection point or 2 classes a week. How did you integrate that into your life and all the demands on your time? And what would you offer as a piece of that for people?
I think anything that you want bad enough is possible. And I think it kind of depends on, what your priorities are and where you're at in your season of life. and where I'm at currently is very busy. I have 4 children, very different schedules, all from high school all the way down to 3rd grade. My husband has his own business. We have our own ministry, which ministers to 18 through 29-year-olds that have their own, interests that, they have relationships with us. So, we're definitely divided in a lot of different areas in our time. And that challenge, even though at first glance it seems kind of overwhelming, in all honesty, it's very doable and it's quite possible. And it's something that we should be doing even if the challenges are going on. And figuring out how to work that into your schedule, I think really is the key. So, you don't necessarily have to do a great big event. You just have to be conscious on what you're doing is intentional. So everywhere you go, who are you coming in contact with? Who are you talking to? Who can you help that day? And if you look at it from that perspective of who can I help that day, it really does, I think, take the burden off of, okay, what do I need? And you're not looking at it from that perspective. You're looking at who can I help that day? You're out and you bump into somebody, and sometimes needs are a little bit more obvious than others. But striking up conversation and then follow up. So follow up is always a huge component. And so that's kind of what I was doing with that consistency challenge is I know like Katie and myself and some of us in our team sat down and tried to pick out days where we could, okay, on this day we're going to go to Paradise Bakery and we're going to meet and we're going to do, like a mini one-on-one or a follow-up kind of class, if you will. Not follow up after you have your kit, but follow up as in we've talked to you about it, but let's talk about a little bit more. And Facebook, doing Facebook events, those have been wonderful. And then make and takes and in-person one-on-one classes have been really great too. But you find ways to schedule and get it done. If it's a priority, you'll get there.
Well, and well spoken, because you right away were faced with having a blown out knee, and then Jody having been laid up as well. So you've had blips in the past, but it hasn't kept you from achieving your goals and your dreams and probably exceeding them at some level. So so again, God gives us the struggle sometimes and expects us to step up to the challenge,
yeah,
so to speak.
Definitely. And it's always it's always great to look at that struggle. We were talking a little bit earlier about that, but in and through that struggle, it's kind of one of those, make it or break it kind of moments where you really are able to get a glimpse of where your heart is and what you really want. And the ability to do some adjustments. So just watching my team go through, personal struggles as well, whether it be emotional or physical or financial, just different struggles, to see them still be adamant and still, yes, I want this. Life is hard. I'm going through this, but, and it's such an opportunity to just be joyful and excited in knowing that, sometimes circumstances really aren't the best, but they're never going to be ideal. They're never going to be perfect. The world is going to continue to spin on its axis. So you kind of just need to put your big girl panties on and giddy up.
That's a great image. I love it. Well, and go after what you want. And that's what's so cool about just about your leadership and development over the last year and a half. And just seeing you grow and blossom through this and now bringing other people along the journey. I was going to ask, one of the things I know is that sometimes people, you get seen a lot on our Living Well Now Lifestyles group, and I didn't preface this, so it's not going to, I think it'll be okay. But you are an administrator for our Living Well Now Lifestyles group, and one of the things that people sometimes get confused about is who Jody Amy Marble is. And and what I love is being in conversation with both of you. This is truly something that Jody has walked the journey alongside you with.
Yeah.
And so if you wouldn't mind just saying a few comments about that and kind of what you vision together.
Yeah. Well, when I brought oils into the home, there was no doubt for me they were wonderful. And the effects that they had on my body were amazing, flourishing. But for him, on the other hand, it wasn't something that he was really interested in. And it really took a lot of, like reminding, hey, instead of doing this, why don't you give this a try? And he would say, well, you're not here to tell me what to do, and I don't know what to use for what, and I know that this is what I use normally, so that's what I'll stick to. And so being the wonderful, loving, supportive wife that I am, I went into our bathroom and into our kitchen where we have our little things that we keep for our health. And I took them and bagged them up and hid them all. And he came home and he was like, where in the world, what did you do with everything? And I said, well, we've got an oil for that now. And, he gave me, what?
Keep going. I was going to interrupt with, did you take his hair gel too? Because we all saw his post about using the Cool Azul in his hair a couple weeks ago. So I wanted to make mention of that, but I'm kidding. But that was what a great plan. We're cleaning out the cupboards to be healthier.
Yeah.
And he couldn't find what he used.
Yeah, instead of going by default of what he's used to using, it really forced him into giving things a really good, gallant effort of a try. And so through that and through the other, experiences that the rest of our family have had, they proved to be invaluable, and they proved to be something that he is excited about. And then talking about how Young Living intertwines with our faith, I think more than anything, that probably was a huge quencher for him, because it just ignited this, excitement, because he does have a passion in theology, and he loves to study the history of, the Bible and what it says, and what did they used to use frankincense for, and myrrh, and it's not just some weird word that we hear when we talk about the Christmas story, And so in and through that, it really kind of ignited his passion. And I think because he's really like a man's man, he's very much, hunting and fishing and outdoors and, football and played football and all of that. I think that, and coming alongside with other guys that are on our team, especially Scott Strong, having other men that he can relate to, and Ron Barilla and, so many others, Justin and so many of the other guys, they've really kind of embraced and ran with it in their own way and on their own terms. And, he's just as excited. He teaches the Oils of the Bible classes along with Scott. Him and Justin teach a high octane class. Jody's taught a 101 class and is open to teaching more. And he tells people about oils and what he's using and so on and so forth. And he has a great sense of humor about it. So he was not put off at all when I shared the hair gel story. Yeah. So he's very much clued in, very much supportive, and it feels really good to know that I'm doing something I'm passionate about, but it's not just I'm doing something that I'm passionate about. We are now doing something that we are both passionate about. So it impacts
and affects your whole family. And I think, I think just an encouragement to women who are maybe listening to this call as a recording or live today is just to say, don't give up, that and know that there are other men watching and participating and supporting more than anything. And there's a great swell of support that's coming forth for men in this particular in Young Living Essential Oils. So look for those events from Living Well Now, but also look for them from Young Living as well, because I think good health is for everyone, male or female.
Yeah.
God created us equal. So however we can support our families to the best of our ability, I think is the key there. Amy, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much too for your work in those Crossline meetings that you've hosted at Rio Vista on behalf of Living Well Now. We'll look forward to more of those. Also for just the administration of our lifestyles group. We know that a lot of people, we have 4,000 members in that group now, and we're really working hard and diligently to make sure that we're speaking in ways that bring good health to people and keep our focus off of our diseases and our illness, and truly walk stronger because of it. So I'm grateful to you for that. Anything you would add in closure today?
No, well, yeah, probably the biggest thing that I'm sharing right now is, don't give up, keep pressing on. And even in the moments where it doesn't feel like you're moving, you really are. And things don't happen in a day, in a night, in a month. Sometimes they take a little bit longer, but that wait is totally worth it. So just keep pushing on, and when you feel like you can't go anymore, reach out to somebody and get some accountability going and affirmation going. I think that's probably the biggest thing, because I know I need to hear it and be reminded of it, as do, I think, all of us. So.
For sure. Yeah. And the beautiful part about our large team of builders is that we have a whole lot of cross-line support to get us to where we want to go. So it's awesome to be able to take advantage of that and grow through it. Grow through the experience. I just want to throw out there again, if you're catching this as a recording, Living Well Now is actually going to be on the road next week in Indiana. So if you have family or friends or builders in Indiana or that's where we're going to be, Indiana and Southern Ohio. Let us know so that we can get them invited to events that are coming up. Also, be on the lookout for two big events happening back-to-back. One is the beauty school class at Rio Vista. Tickets need to be pre-purchased for that, as well as the Iron Cowboy coming November 3rd. So great opportunities to get involved and get people to events that help everyone grow and, most importantly, bring them better health. So thank you to Amy for being our guest today on Wednesday Wisdom, and we'll hope to talk to everybody soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Amy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.